So our topic today is Apple Pages Basics, and we'll talk about using Pages if you've never used it before, even though some people have used it, but even if you've never used it before, how to get started with it, and how to do some simple formatting of documents, some of the basics of formatting text, inserting images, and doing a few other things that might be helpful for you to know how to do when you're formatting documents. And we'll take a look at where these documents get saved, because obviously finding them and saving them is really important when you work with them as well. And then we'll take a look at some other optional capabilities. You're going to see my blank desktop. When I scroll down to open up the dock, you may have a Pages icon in your dock, and that's what that pen or pencil or stylus is, with an icon there. If you don't have the Pages icon on your dock, you can always do a Command spacebar, which brings up Spotlight Search, and you can type Pages, and it'll bring up the Pages app all the time. And that's oftentimes a fast way to get to it, particularly if you don't want to move your hand around to a mouse or a keyboard. What happens when you open it up is that it opens up a Finder, but it opens up Finder to the Pages folder. Pages is a folder that exists in your Mac, and it exists in iCloud as well. So you may find that when you open up a document, it's a little bit different than if you're used to Windows, because you can go to Pages and it'll bring up all of your files and folders that you have that are here that you might be interested in using. One of the buttons down here is called a new document, and it'll indicate that just new document, and it'll bring up the new document. When you click on new document, you get a set of options that come up: a blank document, recent templates that you might have worked with, and you can explore these templates. A blank template is simply a blank piece of paper, but there are also reports. There are books that you can look at and use. There are letter formats that you can use. There are flyers and posters, newsletters, cards, envelopes, business card forms, brochures, and other things that you can use. And you can even save your own documents as templates as well. So I'm just going to double click here with my mouse on a blank document, and it opens up a blank document here. So what I can do now is I can type in here. This is my document area. This is my formatting pane on the right, and I do have a menu, which is traditional for Apple when you have an application opened up. So one of the things I like to do first is I like to name a document. When I click on the untitled.pages here, and I want to change the name, I'm going to select Untitled here, for example, and I'm going to say Tech Explorer Test, okay? And it will end in .pages automatically. Where it's going to save it without you doing anything, it's going to save it in the Pages folder in your iCloud account. And that's where Pages will normally save anything you create. It'll save it in the Pages folder in your iCloud account. And we'll take a look at it from iCloud.com. That means I can get to it through iCloud.com. I can get to it from my iPhone. I can get to it from my iPad, because they all have access. When you open up Pages on other devices, Apple devices, you are going to open up that folder for Pages in iCloud automatically. So you don't have to do anything special. It's getting saved in the cloud for you. If you want to save it locally on your local disk drive, then you would change the save location for it when you want to save it. Now, the menu is within Pages has a view, It has a zoom function, it has an add page function, and it has an insert, table, chart, text, shape, media, and also a comment function. Pages gives you a lot of sophisticated capabilities. For people that want to do collaboration, it is possible for you to allow other people to make comments or even to make comments on something you want to do on your own. We'll take a look at the share button, and we'll take a look more closely at format and document and what they do. But all of your navigation's available here for most everything you need to do. There are some functions in the menu that are helpful for more advanced types of things. So I'm just going to type some text here, sample, for us to work with, okay? And so now I have some text in my document. The formatting is done in the formatting pane on the right-hand side. And if I don't have this selected, it will disappear. And so if you don't ever see the formatting pane, just go to the format icon on your top menu and click it. So this is how I can select text with my cursor, and I can change the font to a different style. I can change the size to a different size. And I can change some other formats, like whether it's medium or bold, or even change the text color. So if I want to change the text color, I can select this color wheel and it brings up a whole bunch of pencils, or I have access to sliders and web safe colors and complete spectrum and back to pencils. So there's 4 ways you can use this to format and select colors for text that you may want to work with. So those are your basic formatting tools. Let's add another line of text. It's going to keep the same formatting. If I want to go back and change it to the original format called body, this is what this drop-down function is for. These are called paragraph styles. Whenever I enter a return key and I create a new paragraph, I can change the style of the paragraph to be either, and these are some standard styles that come with a blank document. I can change it to a title, a subtitle, a heading, or put a heading in red, or even make it a label where it's centered and reversed. And these are pre-formatted styles that exist. If you want to make a change to it, you can make those changes. You also have the ability to modify how your text is aligned. You can align it left justified, centered, right justified, or justified equally on both sides. And you can indent text, you can change spacing before and after paragraphs. So you have a lot of formatting tools available here for anything you might want. So these are some great options that you have for formatting text, no matter what you might want to do with the text. So those are some simple formatting tools. Now I'm going to open up something from ChatGPT. I'm going to copy using Command C, and I'm going to do a Command V and insert text here. Okay, so now I've got text. It's not formatted to body. So if I select it and go over here and click on body, it'll change the formatting of the text. Okay, so that's one way you can copy and paste from anything you have on your screen on your Mac. And so it's just using the clipboard as a function there that you may want to utilize. If I want to insert something, I can insert breaks, page numbers, and links. That's what insert means. Now, it's a little bit different. If you're using Word, you might be thinking of insert as how you insert images or other types of objects. But on Macs, you would go to Media. And Media allows you to take photos or scan documents. So we can even take this and take a look at something that we might want to scan, or import a photo from our phone, or insert something from our photos or videos, or even music, or record video. So that media icon gives you the ability to do a lot of things that you might not have thought about. We're going to go back and insert a photo from it'll bring up your Apple Photos. So if I bring up Apple Photos, this is a picture of me while I was at my Spanish school in Colombia that we took for their Facebook page. And so I've got a photo here. So I've got an image here that gives me some information. If I click outside the image, I go, my formatting goes back to text. If I click on the image, you can see my format pane goes to style, image, and arrange. Okay, so I've got the ability to modify and adjust this image. I can change the size by grabbing onto the sliders. I can change the position by moving it around wherever I might want to move it around in the document. Now, one of the nice things about Pages is it does give you the ability to drag and drop images and really position them really well in relationship to text. But you can see how sometimes the text is going to be on the right. Sometimes the text is going to be on the left. If I drag it over to the margin, it'll move that. But if I have it here, it's centered. It's not wrapped around here. So if I remember, what we want to be able to do is we talk about arrange. Okay, and so when you have an image selected and you want to wrap text around it, you have the ability to change how the text wraps. And you can select around. Automatic will let you do the things I showed you. Around shows you how the text is now wrapped around the image and changes how it appears. And above and below, make sure that the text is above and below your image. In line positions it in a little more precise position, and none says that image is going to be over on top of the text if you wanted to modify. And it gives you a lot of tools that you can use for laying out an image. Normally, automatic tends to work pretty well for people, but if you want to get that image precisely positioned and the text precisely positioned, you can, and you can modify how that text wrapping works with it. The image gives you the ability to modify things, and you do have the ability to do things like removing the background, and it will do some things very well for you, sometimes better than others. And if you ever want to undo something, you can do a Command Z, and that will take it back. This document is being saved to iCloud all the time. Okay, so if I want to go into my web browser, Safari, for example, and I want to look at Pages here, you can see that the document has already been placed in iCloud, and I can open it up in iCloud.com. This is actually using a web-based version of Pages, and you can see it's there instantaneously. So I can make changes to it. So if I want to modify this title here and change it to a title format, and I want to change this formatting here to instead of Helvetica, I want to use Herculaneum as a font style. It's saved, and I can then go back to Pages, I believe, on my document, and hopefully it'll update. I may need to do something to close this file to be able to make sure it gets updated in some format. So let me close this and see if it updates in Pages. Yes, it did. Okay. So it doesn't matter. You can use iCloud.com with Pages, or you can use the Pages app on your Mac, or you can use the Pages app on your iPad or the Pages app on your iPhone, and it will reflect and update the changes through iCloud synchronization all the time. Now, if you don't see anything in the format pane here, that's because you haven't selected something with your cursor. So when you select an image, it'll change to image formatting. When you select text, it'll change to text formatting. There are some ways you can modify the entire document. And the document basically sets up the page orientation and the margins that you have for the document. And so you have the ability to utilize it in US letter or modify it to other types of formats if you want to. So that's what the document does. You are formatting the page layout and margins that you would normally work with. So format gives you access to text and image formatting. Document gives you the ability to modify your page and margins that you may want to be working with. So it also has a little word indicator at the bottom, tells you how many words you've got in your document. So my document's being saved. I've got my ability to format text and insert images. What if I want to share this with somebody? I can email it to them, but Apple doesn't use the term email or text or other things. Increasingly, these applications use the term share. And when you click on share, it brings it forward to the ability to modify and share that document in a variety of ways. I can share it in a note. I can invite somebody with a link. I can put it into a free form. I can export it and send it, or I can send it in mail. Okay. Now, this first drop down here is something you want to pay attention to. Collaborate is what I think comes up as default. So when you want to share this document and you click on the share icon, you'll see the name of the document, you'll see collaborate, and you'll see your iMessage contacts and different ways you could send it through mail, messages, AirDrop, notes, a link, a free form, and you can even export it. We'll take a look at export in a minute. But collaborate means that if you invite somebody to look at that document, they can edit it. So that's what collaboration means. And if you don't want them to edit it, you should click on send a copy. And that way you are able to send it. So if you click on messages, for example, it opens up the Apple Messages app, and I can send this message here, and it's going to be able to let me send it right away to someone without modifying it. If I want to share it as an AirDrop or free form, I can do that. But another way to send it is to export it and send. This is where it really makes it extremely flexible to send somebody a document in a format that they can use and open. You can export it to PDF and send it as a PDF file. You can export it to a Word file, and someone can open up with Microsoft Word. You can send it as an EPUB format, which is a online publishing format, or as strictly as plain text, or what's called RTF or rich text format, or you can send it as an image. And they also have an option to send it for Pages 09. And sometime around after 2010, Apple updated Pages dramatically. And there are still some people out there that have a lot of documents that were created in a Pages 09 format because their Macs used Pages 09. But if you haven't created a Pages document in the past 7 to 8 years, you don't have to worry about Pages 09. It's only people will know it if they have it in Pages 09. And so you have the ability to export it in a variety of ways. So if I want to send a copy, or I can save it, and what it does, it will save this PDF for me in my Pages folder in iCloud. I'm on Pages, iCloud. The name of the document is the same. It's just changed it to a PDF file. And if I click on export, it has now exported it into my Pages folder in iCloud. Let's take a look. Okay, if I go to Finder and I go to iCloud Drive, you can see something's updating there. And you can see here is Tech Explorer PDF already set up. Now, if you look at Finder and you look at iCloud Drive, you will see things like Pages here. Pages, Numbers, and Keynote are folders that are automatically created for you in your iCloud Drive. And here's my Tech Explorer Test PDF document. It's a PDF document, and I can attach it to an email or insert it into an email or just drag and drop it into an email. So even if I'm working in Pages and I want to send somebody something, I can export it to a PDF. Or if I want to send them a copy and I want to export and send it as a Word document, I can save it as a Word document, and it'll export it into a Word file for me. So what happens now is if I go to Finder, you can see that I've got a Tech Explorer test.docx document. I'm going to pull this a little bit wider so you can see it is a Microsoft Word document that has been created. And if I double click on this, it'll open up Microsoft Word. I have Microsoft 365. So whether you're working in Pages and you're sending it to somebody that doesn't have a Mac, maybe they have Word, you can get it to them in whatever format you might want to get it to them and make it available to them. So let me show you these menus here. On Pages, you do have the ability to modify some things like settings. There are general settings where you can create and modify templates. You can choose how media are added. You can paste a YouTube video in as a video if you want to. And you have some abilities to change those generals. You've got the ability to show rulers. If you want to really guide them, you have the ability to modify your autocorrect. So I'm going to export this as a plain text file, and it's going to save it in iCloud here, but it's going to have a .txt extension. And to show you what it looks like, if I want to export it as rich text, it includes some formatting, okay? So now if I go to Finder, I have multiple versions of this document. The original Pages but I also have the PDF, the Word, and I've got a plain text. Plain text has absolutely no formatting of the text whatsoever. So I think if I open this up in here, it'll show you there's no formatting and no images. It's all plain text. Okay. If I go to rich text, there is a little bit of formatting that is available, but not a lot. You can see it has some of the fonts, some of the titles, some of the text sizes formatted. So there are more universal types of formats that can be used for a variety of things that don't depend on the formatting controls used in the document itself.
Aren't there also some limitations on the characters that ASCII can represent? versus what rich text can?
Yeah, there's when you're going with plain text, it's not going to use very too many fonts except some standard 5 or 6 fonts. And for people that do work with web pages that are doing, say, documents, they're doing text documents, and they're going to be using them in a web page, formatting them in a word processor typically doesn't make sense. They usually will just use the text and they'll format it when they format it for uploading to the web page, as opposed to using it in the formatting tools. Because Microsoft Word has formatting controls it uses, and Apple Pages has formatting controls, and Google Docs has formatting controls. They're all a little bit different. But fortunately, you can export to Word from Google and from Pages, and you can open up that Word document in both Pages and Google Docs. And so Word makes a good universal format, which includes some images, but rich text and plain text are designed specifically for body text to be able to utilize. By the way, there's tools here. We didn't get into it. You can add a table, you can add a chart, you can add a text box, you can add shapes to it. So just like Word has all of these options on the menu, they have a lot of different, but sometimes the shapes might be more usable for you. For example, if you wanted to create a diagram and do something slightly different, with it here, you can modify and change a shape. Obviously, if you do this in Pages and you like using freeform, you can export this to freeform and just, choose to put it on a new board, and it'll get exported into freeform as part of the freeform document that you're working with too. You've got, the ability to track changes, change your spelling and grammar as you type. You can insert tables of contents. As I said, I've done, 50-page books and Pages, not a problem. Formatting, different things, inserting links, arranging, distributing objects. If somebody had an iPhone, an iPad, and a Mac, probably Pages would be one of the best things for them to work with, because they can work with it everywhere without having to pay anything extra. So if you're in a Apple ecosystem and don't need to do anything specific in a Microsoft app that, is unique to a Microsoft app, because Pages will not do indexing, for example. If you were writing a book and you said, gosh, I got to create an index for this book so I can save it as a PDF that I can ship off to have published, Pages does not have an indexing function, but it's not that common for people to need that capability. It does have a great table of contents function, which is great. And it does allow you to create some really rich documents with embedded media like videos and audio and something like that. So if you have a recording of some animal sounds that you took while you were taking photographs and you wanted to put the audio file into the document, you can embed the audio file in the document so people can listen to it live.